Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Snakebite. We have a lot to talk about. Baseball has been doing great, but women's lacrosse, we have to lead off with them. Let's roll that intro. And like I mentioned, we have to start this one talking about the number 3 women's lacrosse team who continue to grind their way through a gauntlet of a schedule. This past week, they took on 2 top 10 teams that the Mocs chalked up to just be another pair of in-conference games. Last week, there were 5 SEC teams in the top 10 nationally and 4 in the top 5. And in the first game last week, at the time, number 5 Mocs took on the number 3 and undefeated Lynn Fighting Knights at home. In the back and forth first 3 quarters of play, both teams gained the lead and had it snatched away by the other. At half, the Mocs found themselves down by 1 and were looking to rally to find their perfect all-time series against the Fighting Knights to stay perfect. They then found their way even going into the fourth before they left Lynn in the dust, dropping 6 goals to Lynn's 2 to come out with an 11-15 win. In the win, Abby McFerrin continued with her All-American worthy season with 4 goals in this one, and she was one of 3 Mocs with 3 or more goals, with Gianna Murphy and Hannah Hale being the others. The Mocs' onslaught of shots proved to be the difference maker in this one, as they more than doubled the shot attempts of the Fighting Knights with 48 compared to their 22. There was no rest for the Mocs, though, as they then had to take on number 7 St. Leo up next, and the Mocs made sure to separate themselves in the first half. The first quarter ended slightly favoring the Lions as they had a 1-score lead, but the Mocs eliminated that advantage quickly, scoring the first goal of the second quarter to get even and ending the first half up 4. The goals continued to pile on as Florida Southern scored 13 combined in the second and third quarters to give the Mocs the 18-10 win. And in these 2 games, the offense was jump-started defensively, with Maria Reeves continuing to dominate, earning 29 total control draws over the 2 games and SEC Defensive Player of the Week for the second time this year. Don't worry, though, they will continue to be tested as they take on number 4 Embry-Riddle, the only team to halt the number 1 Spartans charge this season, handing them their first loss last week. And Embry, they've won their last 8, with their only loss coming via an OT loss to Lynn. Oh, and by the way, the number 14 Rollins College Tars are also coming to town Saturday. Both games are at Barron Field and will be on the Sunshine State Conference digital network.
The number 4 baseball team took on Nova Southeastern in their midweek matchup on Tuesday in what turned out to be a high-scoring matchup. The Mocs jumped out to a 5-0 lead in the first, in a game where the Mocs' lucky number was 18, as they notched that many hits and runs in the game. The game ultimately ended 18-9 in another offensive explosion for the Mocs, who then made the trip to St. Leo for head coach Rick Odette's first time coaching against the Lions. And Friday night, the Mocs struck early before piling it on the Lions. The Mocs found themselves up 6-3 going into the 8th before erupting for 10 runs in the 8th for the 16-3 win. This is the first time the Mocs have scored 15-plus runs in back-to-back games since February of 2017, when they did so against Claflin. Ahmad Fitz was a major contributor to these monster performances as he drove in 11 runs, earning him SSC Offensive Player of the Week for the second time this year. The next day, the runs continued, this time for both sides, with each starting pitcher giving up 6 earned runs in the first game of the day. The Mocs took the lead late and survived thanks to some insurance run in the 9th to pull off the 10-9 win. The third game, St. Leo finally found a win of their own as the Mocs bats fell quiet in the third game of the series, a struggle of the Mocs throughout this season. With the series win, the Mocs sit second in the SSC, only behind number 1 University of Tampa Spartans. The Mocs also now sit with a 27-8 record through 35 games, the best record through 35 games against Division II competition since the 2010 season. Baseball will return to action this weekend at historic Henley Field to take on Palm Beach Atlantic.
And the track team stayed busy this weekend, with the majority of them heading to Daytona Beach for the Embry-Riddle Running Elements Classic. Rachel the Hawk Hockenberry kicked off the action in the 3K steeplechase, running the 6th best time in program history with her 12:19. On the second day of competition, we saw Caitlin Beery return to her dominance over the middle distances, running 2:19 in the 800 meter, the 3rd fastest time ever at Florida Southern. The men more than took care of business too, though, don't worry, with Anthony Matthew finally shattering through the 350 barrier. Proud of you, Anthony. In the 1500, Marti ran a huge PR national qualifying time and program record with his 3:46 at the Pepsi Relays up at the University of Florida, putting him at third overall in the entire competition. Oh, and by the way, he beat some of the top D1 competitors in the heat and also beat an Olympian to get that third overall finish. The Olympian was an 800-meter runner, but don't worry, Anthony, I won't tell too many people. And Anthony's roommate, Aiden Redmond, didn't want to be left out of the fun either, as he was in Daytona and ran a similarly huge PR to place second overall in that one, running 3:52 over the 1500. The men also saw the sophomore duo of St. Pete products dip under the 15-minute barrier in the 5K in Dylan Bailey and Cole Summers. The men's and women's track teams will look to continue their record-breaking seasons with the teams splitting up. Some of them will be heading up to Cleveland, Tennessee for the Leaf Flames Invitational, with others, like myself, going down to the University of South Florida for the South Florida Invitational, looking for conference qualifying times.
Both tennis teams took the courts this week for two matchups. Starting off the week, the number 19 men's team was on the road where they took on SSC opponent Lynn University. The Mocs struggled in doubles with only Frizzell and Hewitt finding a win. Unfortunately for Lynn, Florida Southern was dominant on the singles court with Frizzell, Foucault, Hewitt, and Garros, the SSC Men's Tennis Player of the Week, rallying back to win the match 4-3. The road trip continued with a match against Eckhart College where the Mocs took care of business, sweeping doubles competition en route to a 6-1 victory. Rollins College will come to town Thursday at 3 p.m. to close out SSC conference play for Florida Southern. You can find results and live stats on fscmocs.com or come out to the Winey Warden Court to support your Mocs. The women's team took on Eckhart College on the road, and once again they stood no chance against Florida Southern. And once again the Tritons couldn't compete on the doubles courts, getting swept as the Mocs coasted to another 6-1 victory. Florida Southern returned home as the number 5 Barry University Buccaneers rolled into town. The Mocs continued to excel in doubles play, winning 2 of the 3 matches. And Olivia Bryant had a statement win on the singles court, taking down number 3 Alina Mikhailich in 2 sets. Unfortunately, Barry University controlled the other courts, taking down the Mocs 5-2. Florida Southern will head back on the road for 3 matches before our next show, starting in Daytona against Emory-Riddle University tomorrow at 3 p.m. Check FSC Mocs for results during the road trip.
And in the close of the regular season, the number 23 women's golf team placed tied 12th out of 14 teams at the Lynn Invite, tying with Nova Southeastern for that 12th position as they were overall 44 over. Claire Gimple led the way for the Mocs at 6 over to finish 21st overall, with Ashley Angelo following behind with a big performance in the second day of competition, shooting a team tournament best 3 under over the final 18. The Mocs will return to action at the SSC Championships, which, with the caliber of teams that the SSC has, basically functions as a pre-nationals, where the Mocs will look to find a way to the regional competition that will be taking place next week. The men will be following suit as well.
Beach volleyball team celebrated their seniors this past weekend, splitting their senior day matches against Lake Sumter Community College and Palm Beach State College. In the first match of the day, the Mocs were dominant, sweeping Lake Sumter 5-0 with only 1 match going to 3 sets. The matchup against Palm Beach saw a different finish for the Mocs as they lost a close one, 3-2 overall, with each of the Mocs wins coming in 2 sets. But because of the 2 losses in 3 sets, the Mocs couldn't pull out a second overall win on the day. The Sandy Mocs will return to action this Friday and Saturday at the SSC Championships at St. Leo. And you can see the bracket here on your screen, and Carl, there's a lot going on here.
Yeah, and there's a ton of really talented teams in the SSC, some of the top teams in the country for Division II or pretty much any level. The Mocs right now and going into the tournament will be the 4th seed. They'll be taking on Eckhart College, who they've swept in the season series, both times at Eckhart, so the Mocs very familiar with that foe. And you can see it on your screen there, whichever team wins that matchup, they'll be taking on number 1, the University of Tampa. There's a lot more to talk about too, as the softball team has also been in action, but unfortunately they were unable to find a win this past week as they took on receiving vote St. Leo, getting swept in the weekend series. The first game saw freshman 𝙏𝙃𝙀 in the circle in what was a pitcher's duel up until the 5th inning when the Lions' bats came alive, finding 3 runs in the inning. The Mocs looked to respond via the bats of Emma Lucchese and Kate Michael, who both went 2 for 3 on the day, as Shelby Savitt found the lone RBI of the game, but unfortunately, 1 was not enough for the Mocs in the 6-1 loss. And Florida Southern looked to bounce back in the second day of competition in their doubleheader against the Lions, which was dedicated to breast cancer awareness and assistant coach Marti Littlefield, who's battling breast cancer. And these two, the Mocs rocked some sweet new pink uniforms, but were unable to find another win, losing both games of the doubleheader. If you want to purchase a jersey similar to that of the team that you saw on your screen, or want to support Coach Littlefield in her fight check the link in the description of the video to support, whether that's buying a jersey or donating to the GoFundMe. It is all greatly appreciated.
Women's lacrosse team took on two SSC rivals this week. Starting off the week was a matchup at Rollins College. Despite 9 different Mocs scoring, the offense wasn't enough as the Bucks came out on top 20-13. Maddox Walton completed his 5th career hat trick and his 2nd on the year in the loss. They look to bounce back at home versus the receiving votes Florida Tech Panthers. The Mocs continued to struggle as the Panthers outscored them in 3 of the 4 quarters. Despite a strong 4th quarter, Florida Southern fell 15-11. The men's team will head to Lynn University for the final road game of the season this Saturday at 1 p.m.
And did you think we could do the Snakebite this long without another men's basketball reader? Jaden Booth won another award, surprise, surprise, and he became the inaugural Ryan Terrell Character and Inspiration Award for his character on and off the court. Booth became the first recipient of the award, like I mentioned, because of his character on and off the court, but also his ability of bouncing back from that major injury we saw from him last year. For more information about the award and Booth's selection, check out fcmocs.com. And that'll be it for this week's edition of the Snakebite. A big shout out to Jaden Booth. Got married this past weekend to former Mocs softball player Kiki Morris. Congrats to the newlyweds, and congrats to all Florida Southern sports fans, because we have a lot more action and we have a few more Snakebites left in this year. So make sure to tune in. Excited to have you, and see you next time.